Breaking news! It's official. Netflix has acquired Warner Brothers Discovery for $82.7 billion. The last huge acquisition was Disney and Fox, $71.3 billion, but this has knocked it out of the park. This will make Netflix the biggest studio in Hollywood, in the world. The Directors Guild are not happy. They're seeking a meeting. Now, we know that Christopher Nolan is now the chief CEO of the Directors Guild. He will be looking for assurances from Netflix about the cinematic theatrical system. Ultimately, none of these guilds, no one can stop this from happening. A few hours ago, Warner Brothers Discovery accepted the bid from Netflix and Ted Sarandos. They did some negotiating, and it is now official that basically, for all intents and purposes, Netflix own Warner Brothers Discovery. But it's not done yet because they've got to go through the antitrust red tape. Unlike what some people think on the internet and in the media, I don't think the antitrust situation is going to be a problem. Listen, boys and girls, this is the real world. If you grease the right palms, you get what you want. This is going to happen. What does it mean? What's the future? What does this mean, especially for DC? These are DC videos I do daily. It's clear that what happens to DC is very, very vital and important. Now, there's people complaining about Netflix monopolizing the industry. Let's be absolutely clear again. No matter who won the bidding, there would have been issues of monopolization. Whether it was Paramount, and I'll get to them in a moment, whether it was Universal Comcast, there would have been a monopoly situation. So I don't really get why people are talking about, oh, it's bad, Netflix are buying it, because it means they're going to monopolize the industry. Whoever bought this studio, this company would have monopolized the industry. It's as simple as that. There's no getting away from it. But no matter who won the bidding, it would have been a sad day. A sad day for the history of Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is a 100-year plus company, studio that was founded by two brothers. And the aesthetic was entertainment, film, and artistry first, profits second. But then in the 60s, all the owners of the studios, the Zenix and the Warners and etc., sold out to corporations, to brewery companies. To be fair to those brewery companies, they decided that movies should be made for young people by young people. That's why they went to movie school graduates like George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, etc. The studio system died a long time ago. You're going to hear right-wing YouTubers like Nerdrotic, etc., 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 saying this is the death of entertainment. But if right-wing Paramount would have won the bidding, they would have said entertainment is saved. The studio system died a very long time ago. You just missed the wake. It's as simple as that. What does this mean for Gunn and Safran at DC Studios? We simply do not know. What does this mean for Zack Snyder? Will he be able to restore the Snyderverse? I have no idea. I'm not here to make you any false promises. Zack Snyder has been posting a lot of things that make it look like he's very confident about the restoration of the Snyderverse. The other day, Gal Gadot posted her audition with Ben Affleck, and apparently Snyder sent that to her the night before. Now, it's actually an audition you've probably got on your BTS features on your Blu-ray and 4K discs. So it's nothing new there. But the way Snyder's been acting, it's like he knows something that we don't. It was pretty clear that Snyder was in the know that Netflix were going to win the bidding. And that is Paramount and the Ellison family's big bugbear, that Warner Brothers Discovery didn't run a fair bidding process, and they could be taking legal action on those very grounds. Let's look at it logically. Mr. Ellison, you made 4 substandard bids. You knew damn well what Warner Brothers Discovery wanted. You knew damn well, because everyone in these processes know damn well what the others are going to bid. You could have outbid Netflix and Universal Comcast at any moment, but you tried your luck and you made 4 subpar bids, and that's why you're not getting the company. So these idiots, these Ellisons, have written a letter. Boo-hoo, it's not fair. You never sold the company to us for a loss. You know, we're not happy. It was unfair. It wasn't unfair. It was a fair bidding process. Even if WBD knew exactly what Netflix were going to bid, it doesn't matter. Now, what Paramount will say, it was, you know, a stacked deck. But it doesn't matter. You could have bid. You could have outbid Netflix at any time. You had that opportunity. 4 subpar bids. So even if they do take legal action, they'll delay the process, but they will not win. What about the antitrust situation? The AT&T acquisition of Time Warner, or when Time Warner sold Warner Brothers, that took around 2 years. That took forever, but I think that was before Trump, if I'm right. I don't know. I don't think that it's in anyone's best interest to drag this out. And we know that Zaslav was very good about oiling and greasing the palms to get his merger with AT&T when he merged and it became Warner Brothers Discovery. He made that deal go very, very quickly. Now, what we don't know is the future of David Zaslav. We know that Paramount offered him some kind of silent CEO position. Will Netflix do the same? We do not know the details in this arrangement, but I can tell you about an hour or so ago, as I'm recording this video now, it was officially revealed that Netflix have acquired Warner Brothers Discovery. I can't see what changes here. I have no idea if Gunn and Safran have a future. I have no idea if the Snyderverse is going to be restored. People like DC Nightmare acting very, the mysterious, Nostradamus figure on ex-Twitter who believes the Snyderverse will be restored. We will see. But we do not know, boys and girls. It's a fascinating situation. But those claiming this is the death of the theatrical system, the death of the studio system, that happened a long time ago. For example, basically, cinemas have been losing footfall for many, many years. Really, since the early 2000s, when all the good filmmakers started making TV shows like 24 and Prison Break and Lost and Alias and Smallville. And all we were getting like Lord of the Rings and we were getting Harry Potter, but mostly in between that, we were just getting middle-of-the-road rom-coms because all the talented people were making television instead of film. Look at the cinematography on The Penguin. Look at the cinematography on a lot of the Netflix shows as well. All the talented people are now making streaming TV instead of movies, but there lies the problem. But even the streaming stuff isn't that good anymore. So we're going to have to be patient to see what happens, because as I say, the antitrust situation leaves everything up in the air. And as I say, will Paramount and the Ellisons take Warner Brothers Discovery and Netflix to court? And what will Netflix be called once the acquisition has been signed, sealed, and delivered? Warner Brothers Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery Netflix, Netflix Warner Brothers Discovery? I have no idea. Not that it matters, but now, if this all goes through, and I'm sure it will, Netflix own HBO, HBO Max, DC Comics, along with a lot of other things. They own a back catalogue. This is what they wanted. Now, let's not forget that Ted Sanderos has said repeatedly that the theatrical system is dead and streaming is the future. Now, he claims he will honour the Warner Brothers theatrical system. And as I said earlier, the Directors Guild of America want assurances. Christopher Nolan, who's at the head at the moment of that organisation he was recently elected in, will want assurances and want answers. They are a streaming company, Netflix, first and foremost. But let's again be absolutely clear. They're all fucking streaming companies. Paramount is a streaming company. Disney is a streaming company. Universal is a streaming company. They're all doing streaming now. I said a long time ago, when this all started, my preferred acquirers of Warner Brothers Discovery would have been Apple TV, because they seem to be the only company interested in making quality entertainment. But it's not a proud day. It's not a day to boast, because Warner Brothers, as I say, is a 100-year-old company, right? Founded by two brothers. It was a family business. What's happened to the industry, via corporations swallowing up these originally, family-based studios, is a very sad thing. But that's been happening since the 60s, everyone. So the studio system really has been dying a slow, painful death since the 60s. So it's, look, for me, I'm not going to celebrate this. I don't think it's a good thing. Now, if they do restore the Snyderverse, at least there's a little bit of positivity, but there's a lot of money to be made from DC. The problem is that Netflix are the company who put a feminist in place to run The Witcher after they bought the Witcher IP. So are these people we can really trust with the DC IP? At this moment in time, when I look at their handling of other IPs, I would say no. But what's very interesting is the upcoming Chronicles of Narnia franchise movies that are happening as well. We will see how they handle them. And of course, a talented feminist director has got her mitts around the Chronicles of Narnia franchise and our IP as well. But we'll see what she does with that. She also directed Barbie. Let's not forget that as well. So, we really don't know if we can trust Netflix with DC, and time will tell. It's really interesting looking back at this process. I'm not sure if I ever really believed that Netflix would win the bidding. If I'm being honest, and I've said it here, so I can't rewrite history, I thought that Universal Comcast would win the bidding. They're the biggest studio in Hollywood, they're the biggest studio in the world, they're the most successful studio right now. They had the money, but clearly they weren't willing to go over the top with the bidding. It's clear that Netflix really want this acquisition, and Netflix are a very ambitious company. They can create something really special here. They can build their own Netflix cinemas, they can build up their television streaming system as well. It depends how ambitious they are. Are they supporters of the artistic entertainment system? Are they just here to acquire things, just to become a powerful company that makes money? Again, only time will tell. As I say, there's going to be a lot of chatter about this situation. Everyone has different opinions. Now, about the Gunn and Safran and Snyder situation, it depends who you talk to. There were reports that Paramount would remove the green lighting power away from Gunn and Safran. What happens to Adby and DeLuca? I think Adby and DeLuca have got more chance of keeping their positions as co-CEOs of Warner Brothers Pictures than Gunn and Safran have at DC Studios. But again, only time will tell. I would never allow Gunn and Safran to be making the big decisions at DC Studios. But they're there. Gunn is still bragging about himself, about his Man of Tomorrow movie. He's acting like a man who doesn't think he has anything to fear. We will see if he has anything to fear. But yet, Netflix now own Warner Brothers Discovery. It's a huge deal. It's sending shockwaves through the industry, and everyone's wondering what's next for the industry. What do I think? Everyone thought everything would change when Disney acquired Fox. Nothing changed. They've made a terrible job of acquiring Fox. And what have they done? They turned it into 20th Century Studios. They've made shite movies. Nothing's really changed. The industry has carried on. But Fox and Disney are one thing. Netflix, the biggest streamer in the industry, buying one of the biggest one of the biggest media outlets in the industry, is something very, very different. What decisions will they make? At the end of the day, it's up to the other studios as well. You can continue to support the theatrical system even if Netflix don't. Let's be honest about this. Warner Brothers haven't been that successful in their entrances in the theatrical system in the past 20 years. When was the last time Warner Brothers Pictures made $1 billion movie? So at the end of the day, even if they're not going to be in the theatrical business anymore, does it really make a difference? I don't think so. Comments down below, like, share and subscribe. We'll be getting into this a lot more as the days and weeks and months go ahead. We will find out as time goes on the future of Gunn and Safran, if the Snyderverse will be restored. This will be the place you'll find out first if the Snyderverse is to return.